Hello,
Hi,
back again with another story.
that's good.
Alright, let's jump right into it.
Alright.
Rodney King is born in Sacramento, California. The year is 1965. He is born April 2nd. He's the son of Ronald and Odessa King. He and his four siblings grew up in Altadena, California. He attends high school, but unfortunately doesn't graduate. It's around the time his father passes away. Not much is known about Rodney King's, I should say, his younger life. But what we do know is, subsequently after dropping out of high school, he does have a daughter with his girlfriend, Carmen Simpson. He later marries Danita Lyles, has another daughter with her. Him and Danita have a divorce, and he gets remarried to a Crystal Waters and has another daughter. But unfortunately, that relationship ends in divorce. So Rodney early on is having, it seems like, a very difficult start in life. He's had difficult time with education and difficult time with relationships, and also what kind of falls in line with this as well is he has a hard time keeping steady work. So it's very difficult for him to even support the children he has so far. What he kind of tries to rely on is construction work, but that's unfortunately not enough. So by 1989, Rodney is unfortunately convicted of attempted robbery, which requires him to serve at least 1 year at California Correctional Center in Susanville. After that year, he is required to, or he's on parole, but he's allowed to go home. So let's say March 3rd, 1991 rolls around. Rodney is with two friends, Brian Allen and Freddie Helms. The three of them are just leaving another friend's house. It's about 12 in the morning or so, and they were just watching basketball and drinking, just having a nice night out. Stayed out a little too late, but they were still having a nice night out. By 12:30 a.m., Tim and Melanie Singer, husband and wife members of the California Highway Patrol, noticed that Rodney is driving pretty fast down the freeway. So they're like, this vehicle's going very fast. We're going to need to definitely stop them, of course. So they turn their lights and sirens on, and the pursuit ends up going. Basically, Rodney drives so fast that he reaches 117 miles per hour. Because he's refusing to pull over. Because, he's a bit nervous. He's like, okay, I know I've drank tonight. I know I'm out for parole. I'm about to be screwed if I get pulled over. So maybe if I drive fast enough, I can maybe get off the freeway at just the right time and they lose me. They don't have any information on me, so this won't come back on me. So the pursuit continues. Rodney gets off the freeway near Hanson Dam Recreation Area, and now they're in a residential community. You kind of look at it as suburbs in a way. And Rodney, there's a speed range now going on between Rodney and the officers from 55 miles to 80 miles per hour. Still kind of fast in a residential community, but you see that Rodney's still not giving in. And, in between all of this, he's running red lights. He's really trying to evade the police. But by this time, several police cars have joined in on this. They've radioed, hey, we have a vehicle here that's just not giving in. This vehicle is speeding. This is high pursuit. We've been chasing them since we've been on the freeway. We're gonna need some extra assistance here because we don't know who this person is. Right? We feel like they're evading something much larger. The pursuit becomes so hectic that there's even a police helicopter that is utilized
That's bad.
Yes.
Ay.
They're like, all right, we're going to need some assistance from up top just to
Ay.
really make sure we can halt this person, right?
That's too much.
I mean, hey, it works. About 8 miles or so, the officers finally corner Rodney in his vehicle. The first 5 Los Angeles police officers to arrive are Stacy Kuhn, Lawrence Powell, Timothy Wind, Theodore Brizano, and Rolando Solano. And shortly after, Tim and Melanie Singer arrive on the scene. So I guess they've kind of, at this point, they fell a little back, right? Like they were still tracking. They radioed for assistance, and these other officers were able to corner them first. So Tim Singer orders Rodney and his two passengers to exit the vehicle and immediately lie face down on the ground. Both of the friends are like, okay, no problem, we'll get out. Bryant, he's immediately manhandled and he's kicked, stomped, and taunted and threatened. Freddie, he's also hit. He's hit in the head and develops a cut from the impact. But Rodney, he's remaining in the vehicle. He's just sitting in the vehicle. He sits there for a moment. He sees what's going on, but then he's like, okay, I'll get out now. So he finally gets out. He even giggles a little bit, begins to pat the ground. You can kind of tell he's obviously under the influence, right? He pats the ground. He waves at the helicopter up, in the sky, right? He's having fun with this a little bit, right? And he grabs his buttocks. The officer, or I should say Officer Melanie Singer, is like, whoa, what are you reaching for back there? Right? She immediately draws her gun because she's like, oh, no. What's going on here? He was the last one to get out. I don't know if you're thinking about, you're thinking about this as like your last moments and you're going to go out doing a certain thing, right? So let me just draw for safety. Make sure I calm this fuse right now. So she points the gun at Rodney and orders him to lie on the ground. She begins to approach him and she's like, okay, I'm going to arrest Rodney. But Officer Kuhn, he's like the ranking officer on scene right now out of all the other officers. So whatever he says is what goes. He says, no, all the officers put your weapons down. Like basically put them away. Put all of your weapons away. We will arrest these people without any weapons. So Officer Kuhn is like, okay, all of the weapons, place them away. We're going to use a technique called the swarm technique to arrest Rodney. Because he's feeling like, okay, this guy, he seems like he's under the influence, but he also seems like he's not really following the rules. So let's use this swarm technique. And the swarm technique is basically when all of the officers jump on this person at once because they're thinking, will this person resist? I don't know, but we're all going to go in together. So they do just that, and they feel like Rodney is resisting a little bit. They feel like, wait a moment, you are trying to resist. So then they tase Rodney. And that causes Rodney to obviously lose his footing. He falls down on the ground. But he gets back up shortly after being tased. And it's like he's trying to either run away or run toward one of the officers. And so the officer that he was running in the direction of basically collides with Rodney. And at this point, they think, okay, yeah, you are trying to resist an arrest and maybe even fight a police officer at this point. So guess what they do? They start striking him with their batons. They start striking him. And so they strike him repeatedly. Rodney falls to the ground. And it's specifically Officer Powell. He strikes Rodney several times with his baton. And then Officer Brasino moves in and he's like, no, all right, like that's enough. You've hit him several times already. Let's back off now. But Officer Kuhn says, no, keep going. You need to keep striking him because this guy is not yielding. He's not listening to our orders. Keep striking him. And he even tells Officer Powell and Officer Wynn to strike with power strokes.
What's a power stroke? Like being
it's like almost incredibly forceful, right? So after several strikes, Rodney's still fighting to stand on his feet. Mind you, this man is obviously under the influence, so of course his reasoning is not 100% there, but this man is fighting to stand on his feet. He's not even fighting back. He's just wanting to stand on his feet. Right? So Officer Kuhn, the ranking officer, once again, he orders the other officers to hit his joints, hit Rodney's wrist, hit his elbows, hit his knees, hit his ankles. Make this man stay on the ground. So Officer Wynn, Brasino, and Powell, they're like, all right, officer, we will do that. So they throw as many shots as they can.
Surely.
And
Funny, they're not thinking like, okay, they've smelled alcohol from this person. They're not thinking until this person is definitely not in his right sense.
they didn't think about that. All they
So
thought
what
of,
are they
all
thinking?
they
This
thought
person
about,
is not even armed.
because think about it like this: they already manhandled his friends, right? And his friends got out of the car. They manhandled him. The friends are still being hit, right? So they already came with a certain kind of aggression. Soon as they got the call, hey, someone's trying to evade us, right? We've been chasing them for such and such amount of time. They were like, okay.
They were mad.
At that point, they were upset, right? So it's like a total of 8 officers are swarming Rodney at this point. After they've beaten him, they finally beat him enough to where they can swarm him successfully and place handcuffs on him. And they actually place handcuffs and cord cuffs, restraining his arms and legs, making sure Rodney cannot move. And so they finally drag Rodney off to the side of the road, and his abdomen is like think of someone's abdomen. Like literally being on the street and like being dragged to the side of the road, right?
They were dragging him.
They dragged him to the side of the road to wait for the medical rescue. The officers don't realize this one thing, though. That there's someone nearby in their apartment recording this beating. This man is George Holliday. He's recording this incident from his apartment near the intersection of Foothill Boulevard and Osborne Street in Lakeview Terrace. 2 days later, after this incident, March 5th, Holliday calls the LAPD headquarters at Parker Center to let the police department know that he has a videotape of the incident. And he's like, I'm sure you guys are, basically would like to talk to me about this, like, because this is crazy. Like, I just caught police officers beating this man basically to an extreme. Can I talk to anybody about this videotape? For the most part, they're ignoring him. They're like, yes, we know of a situation that happened, but no, we're not interested in seeing your videotape. We're not interested. So he's like, okay, fine. He goes to a television company, KTLA.
Yeah.
Instantly, the thing becomes a media sensation.
Yes, it has to.
Portions of the tape are aired numerous times. It airs numerous times, right? Because he went to the television company. But let's talk about how Rodney, right after that incident, he's taken to Pacifica Hospital after that arrest. The doctors find that he has suffered from a fractured facial bone, a broken right ankle, multiple bruises, cuts through the skin, throughout his body basically, and they ultimately do blood and urine samples, basically 5 hours after the arrest. And they find that the blood alcohol content is measured to be 0.075%. This is so close to this is incredibly close to the law limit, basically, the legal limit. The legal limit is 0.08%, so
and this is 5 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours after. So he was definitely very much so intoxicated when he was going through that, right? And these tests also proved that he had traces of marijuana in his system. Some of the doctors actually pick up on something. While they're treating Rodney, because he was just dropped off recently, some of the officers were lingering around, and they were openly joking and bragging about the number of times they'd beaten Rodney, which is disgusting behavior.
Yeah.
But they joked about it. So, with the video footage being out, Rodney obviously suffering a lot, let's kind of go into, of course, I'm sure you're wondering, how was this legally handled, right? Let's go into that.
Because it's out there, now people know, people are enraged at that point.
Right.
I bet.
Right.
Because it's just not right.
Right. So the Los Angeles County District Attorney charges the 4 police officers, including one sergeant, with the assault and use of excessive force. Due to the extensive media coverage of the arrest, the trial receives a change of venue from Los Angeles County to Simi Valley and neighboring Ventura County. Now, let's imagine the jury. The jury consists of 10 white jurors, 1 biracial male, 1 Latino, and 1 Asian American. The prosecutor, however, Terry White, is black. During the trial, they review the footage. The first 2 seconds of the videotape, contrary to the claims made by the accused officers, shows Rodney attempting to flee past Officer Powell. Remember? Right? They were unsure whether he was trying to flee or whether he was trying to rush Officer Powell.
Yeah.
During the next 1 minute and 19 seconds, Rodney is shown beaten continuously by the officer. So basically, they're watching this footage and they're seeing that, right? The officers testify that they tried to physically restrain Rodney before the starting point of the videotape. So they're saying, hey, no, you have to understand. This video is not showing everything. We were trying to restrain him. We didn't immediately resort to violence initially. We didn't. He was not listening to us when we told him to get on the ground. That's why it came to this, right? By April 29th, 1992, the 7th day of jury deliberations, the jury acquits all 4 officers of assault and acquits 3 of the 4 using excessive force. The jury seem to have a hard time. They have a hard time.
Hard time where?
They have a hard time agreeing on a verdict for the 4th officer in charging them with using excessive force. The prosecution suggested that the jurors acquitted the officers because they were desensitized to the violence of the beating, as the defense played the videotape repeatedly in slow motion, breaking it down until its emotional impact was lost.
First of all, the jury was not going to be in favor of anything. This trial was decided from the first moment.
You think so?
Yeah, you can't try to make a decision of such a magnitude by putting only certain individuals over there.
You're saying
It has
You're
to
saying there
be
should
fair.
be
For it
fair
to be
representation.
fair, yes. It has to, maybe if you're saying it's 2 white, 2 biracial, 2 black, 2 Mexican, yes, it has to be that. But this one was not that. This one
I don't
was
think so.
decided. This one was decided from when it started. The decision had already been made.
Okay.
That's just it.
So after this ruling, like outside the courthouse, the Officer Kuhn, the ranking officer that night, he has to be protected to get back to his car because protesters are already like ready to jump on him,
Should be
right?
jumped on.
But let's backtrack a week, or let's backtrack a little bit. So a week before the verdict, right? Week before the verdict was reached, Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates set aside $1 million for possible police overtime. Even so, on the last day of the trial, 2/3 of the LAPD's patrol captains were out of town in Ventura, California on the first day of a 3-day training seminar. Also, at 1 p.m. on the day of April 29th, the day of the, decision, Judge Stanley Weisberg announces that the jury has reached its verdict, which would be read in 2 hours' time. This basically means that they're announcing that, hey, this is going to be announced at a certain time, so law enforcement, you have time to get ready for any kind of
resistance,
any kind of backlash. Whatever this, whatever happens, this is your time to get ready, right?
I think actually you failed to tell us the race of this individual.
Rodney King is an African American man.
Yes, but I figured by.
Well, I wanted you to naturally pick up that
yeah.
by just, by just me reading the content.
Yeah.
So the LAPD activates its Emergency Operations Center, but no action is taken
But
to.
let me ask, Rodney, was he okay at this time when all this is happening?
What do you mean? Is he
As
okay?
in,
he was
was
going
out?
through the. He was going through the trial.
Oh, he was there, so he healed, like his body healed and all that.
Yeah, I mean, he was, he was operated on, and he was, they took the proper measures to get him back to at least full speed again.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
I
was
mean,
asking, yeah.
but I mean, you can see they really punished him. Like, it's really bad. So, like I said, the LAPD activates its Emergency Operations Center, but no action is taken to retain extra personnel at the LAPD shift change at 3 p.m. because they don't really think this is going to be that big of a deal. They're like, okay, I understand, yes, it's controversial, but
Nothing
do
is
we really need that many more officers to, come on, no, I don't think so. But that same day, the acquittals of the 4 accused Los Angeles police officers came at, the decision was basically announced at 3:15 p.m. By 3:45 p.m., a crowd of more than 300 people appear at the Los Angeles County Courthouse
300.
protesting the verdicts. Meanwhile, at 4:15 to 4:20, a group of people approached the Payless Liquor and Deli on Florence Avenue, just west of Normandy and South Central. This group begins to loot and destroy this entire store.
How many?
Just imagine more than 10 people. They have no intention of buying one item. They're like,
Was it close to that place?
Close to the courthouse?
Yeah.
Well, this is in that Los Angeles area.
Oh, okay.
This is in that Los Angeles area. So I'm going to announce like several streets, but just imagine, because I know we're not too familiar with LA, but let's just imagine these are all within a certain proximity. These are all fairly around each other, right? And if you get too lost, just imagine Los Angeles.
Okay.
Right? Because this is in LA, right? So this group begins to loot and destroy the entire store. The store owner's son is hit with a beer bottle. This whole place is just ransacked. 2 officers get there. The group is gone already. They're like, wow, like clearly these people have destroyed your shop. I apologize, but I don't even know if we would have been able to help anyway, because this is like such a massive destruction, right?
Yeah.
At Florence and Halldale, 2 officers issue a plea for assistance while apprehending a young suspect who threw an object at their car. They were driving, and this young person throws something at their car. So basically, they're asking for backup, and like 24 officers arrive to help them arrest just this youth, right? This kid. But that's not the only reason why. This kid influences a crowd of people to start taunting and berating the police, right? These police form a perimeter around the arresting officers as the crowd grows more and more hostile, leading to further altercations and arrest.
So like the city has turned upside down. It's slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely, a lot of things are popping off already, right? One member of the crowd steals the flashlight of a LAPD officer. And so the lieutenant at this time gets this information. And just imagine, we already have like a dozen police officers guarding 2 police officers trying to make an arrest. This lieutenant says, we are outnumbered and we are not prepared. You guys need to retreat. You guys need to get out of that area. So imagine how many angry people are surrounding these police officers for them to say, we are outnumbered.
Yeah.
This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
Yeah.
So now let's jump to another area, 71st and Normandy. Large crowd becomes physically dangerous. Just after 6 p.m., a group of young men break the padlock and windows to Tom's Liquor. A group of more than 100 people raid the store and loot it. Concurrently, the growing number of rioters in the street begin to attack the civilians of non-black appearance people.
Jeez.
They throw debris at their cars to bait them to pull over. After these people pull over, the crowd just starts pulling them out of their vehicles and beating them. The same group of rioters continue to target shops by smashing the windows out. They target non-black people on the sidewalks. By 6:43 p.m., a white truck driver drives through this area, down Florence, stops at a red light at Normandy. This truck driver, in his truck, he has no radio in his truck, so he can't listen to any kind of news coverage. He can't be updated on any information. So he has no clue he's driving into a riot right now. So immediately, as he stops at that light, he's pulled out of his truck. And a group of men just start kicking him and beating him. One of the men get into his truck to just grab a fire extinguisher. And he starts striking this man with the fire extinguisher. And he knocks the man unconscious. The man lays unconscious for more than a minute or so. And his truck is looted at this point. Moments pass and the trucker finally regains his footing and he's trying to stagger back to his truck, and an African American man walks over and helps him safely get back inside of his truck so that he can successfully drive away. Shortly after that, very similar incident happened to another white truck driver that was passing through that area. That man was also beaten. Thankfully, that man was able to survive and drive away as well. But let's fast forward to about 7:40 p.m. A self-employed construction worker in Guatemalan is pulled from his GMC pickup truck and is robbed of $2,000. You can kind of think of that now in this year's currency as like $4,500. The rioters smashed the construction worker's forehead open with a car stereo, and they tried to slash his ear off. This man also loses his consciousness because it's just too much. He's being beaten and jumped.
And he does not even know anything.
Right. So the crowd, they spray paint his chest, torso, and genitals black. Shortly after, thankfully, a black reverend shows up and tells the rioters, kill him and you'll have to kill me too. So then they're like, fine, we'll back off. And that's what they do. Thankfully, that man survives. Now let's jump over to Parker Center. Parker Center is where the headquarters of the LAPD are at. A crowd shows up there, and at this time it's like 9 p.m. and this crowd is like ready to destroy this building. They're like, you guys, this is all from you guys.
And you said there were like 300 people. I think you told me that earlier. There were a lot of people.
Well, that was outside of the courthouse.
Oh, this is not the courthouse.
This is the headquarters for the LAPD.
Okay.
Right? This is the headquarters. So people are like ready to attack the law enforcement. They're ready. They're like trying to turn over the vehicles there. They're ready to set the building on fire, right? They've already been like trying to vandalize government buildings because they're like, you guys have failed us, basically, right? You guys have failed us. And they've been doing this throughout like nearby districts in downtown LA.
And this thing started immediately after the trial.
Yes, this is the same day.
So like they were waiting for that decision to be made, and then all hell broke loose.
All hell has broken loose. And this is one day, right? We're still in that same day.
And they are unleashing or just removing their rage. Like they're doing this to anyone, innocent people, anyone.
It's anyone who's not
black.
You're going to receive hell. So they've been looting and burning stores throughout districts in downtown LA. Even when firefighters try to put the fires out, they're shot. They're like, no, you guys aren't putting these fires out. We're going to try to kill you too. So the mayor, he has to request for the California Army National Guard. He's like,
the army needs to
this is too much.
It's too much. We need the army. Oh my goodness.
I can't believe it's reached this
I
point. Like,
know.
our officers can't even maintain all of this. This
The
has
officers
become
are the ones who are beating up people. Now people are like,
yeah, now it's like too much. I need the National Guard to help us, right? So their first deployment is like
and they were actually deployed.
yes.
Wow.
Their first deployment is at the Police Command Center, where they start to hand out bulletproof vests to the firefighters.
Jesus.
Right? And then after that, they go to the Martin Luther King shopping mall in Watts. Now, let's close day one. That's day one. That's the same day of the trial.
Oh. They should have just gone back and said, we are revising the decision. We are revising the decision. They should have gone back after 2 hours of seeing whatever is happening. They should have been like, okay, we are going back to court. So please calm down.
All right. Well, let's
start.
let's go to day 2, April 30th. Let's see if they do what you think they should have done. Right. The mayor signs an order for a dusk to dawn curfew at 12:15 a.m. for the core area affected by the riots, as well as declaring a state of emergency for the city of Los Angeles.
It's that bad.
Yes.
What? It just shows how much I think in some way if people I know this is bad whatever they're doing, but it shows that if people are upset about something and like they feel oppressed in some way,
Eventually
and
they will try and
yeah
bite back.
yeah, and when they bite, they do bite, and then you'll show like right now they're showing, oh, actually we're scared of you guys. Actually, we need the protection of, we need the army. We need you guys we need curfew. We need, like, just don't oppress them.
So by 10:15 a.m., he expands the area under curfew. So he's like, okay, I only limited the curfew over here. Actually, we're going to have to revise that and I'll have to widen this area. Like, this
and
is...
they did the curfew work.
By mid-morning, violence appears widespread and unchecked as extensive looting and arson is witnessed throughout Los Angeles County. Rioting moves from south central Los Angeles going through north through central Los Angeles. Widespread destruction in neighborhoods of Koreatown, Westlake, Pico Union, Echo Park, Hancock Park, Fairfax, Mid-City, and Mid-Wilshire, right before it reaches Hollywood. So it's like all of these communities are going through all of this. The looting and fires engulf Hollywood Boulevard, and simultaneously rioting moves west and south into the neighboring independent cities of Inglewood, Hawthorne, Gardena, Compton, Carson, and Long Beach, and it just continues to move east from south central Los Angeles to a variety of other cities.
Didn't that mayor think of a better, smarter idea?
I don't think the mayor is realizing
how big.
Yeah, like he's like, okay, if I tell them curfews this time, they would probably be too feared to even try us, right? Cops will be out to enforce that. Like maybe if they see a cop outside, oh, they're serious, so let me not go outside. All right, that should work, guys. I'll set this curfew. That should work. No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
He undermined the rage that people had in their hearts. Because at times you could be like, say sorry. It's like telling someone, just say sorry. But you don't know how much you hurt someone, and even that sorry, it's not supposed to be taken that lightly. You like literally have to do better to calm that person down, and even saying that was too little, like this, just let it go.
It does like, kind of show you that it's like you're really undermining
what I'm feeling,
how something could impact the community.
So like that was not the best way to go about it.
So let's dive specifically into one community in particular. I stated Koreatown. Let's dive into that town. So, kind of give you a little context about Koreatown. It's like 2.7 square miles, and it's a neighborhood between Hoover Street and Western Avenue and 3rd Street and Olympic Boulevard. It obviously consists of a lot of Korean immigrants who started settling here in like the mid 1960s after the passage of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. So they find here, okay, real estate's a little cheaper, we can open up our shops and start businesses. But the tensions between the African American community and the Korean community were bad because of this. A lot of the African Americans felt that the Koreans were mistreating them in ways as they were doing business here in these areas. They had these high prices on items that weren't very expensive. They were like kind of prejudiced to them when they would shop in their stores. They wouldn't hire them. And from the Koreans' defense, like they're immigrants, they're new to this, so of course they're probably going to want to stay tightly knit. Like, no, let's only hire Koreans, right? Let's only stay within our own community. But there was tensions already growing within these two. So now this community, Koreatown, is under attack. Like, if there's a perfect day to like basically
Payback. It's like payback.
basically harm these businesses,
It's that.
now's the time, right? And also I should kind of point out, imagine when all this rioting's going on, the police have basically blocked off certain areas. They blocked off wealthy white neighborhoods, right? So like you can't even
They get priority.
Yeah, so basically if you're in Koreatown, you can't escape. You're within the parameters of
being attacked.
Right. The police on the outside trying to ensure
Make you stay in.
Yes.
Stay in that fire.
Yes. So a lot of them are basically now, like I said, they're trapped inside of this. They know they have bad tension between African Americans. They're like, okay, we're gonna have to try to stand up for ourselves and defend what we have built here, right? We're gonna have to do something about this because law enforcement is not going to help us, right? So they begin to form their own like armed security teams, which pretty much consist of store owners. And they're like, we have to try to defend our businesses at the end of the day. And most of these people, they've already served in the military back at home, right? They served in the military in Korea. So they have some experience working with firearms. And basically, they would be standing on top of the stores shooting down at the rioters, and the rioters were shooting back. It's not like that, no. So it was a gunfight. So just imagine all hell's breaking loose on these streets, and all while that's going on, you have people shooting from building like rooftops down to the street.
Like those cowboy things that we watch, like those movies that
on mountains and so forth.
And people are like, geez, that's drama. Jeez.
Yeah, all of this is being televised, right? So like this is like dangerous, right? And it's like shocking everybody basically that's able to watch this on TV. And obviously during all of this chaos going on in Koreatown, not everyone's going to make it out of this. Specifically an 18-year-old Korean, Edward Song Lee, he is actually shot during these interactions, or during these encounters, I should say. So after the events in Koreatown, the 670th MP Company from National City, California, redeployed to reinforce police patrols guarding the Korean Cultural Center and Consulate General of South Korea in Los Angeles. So it seems like they wanted this area to at least be protected. These things to be protected.
Letting that happen.
Yes. So also this day, the LAPD and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, basically you can kind of look at it as like all of these departments are trying to figure out a way to successfully get out there and try and do something. So the LAPD and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, LAFD, which is Los Angeles Fire Department, they dispatch with police escorts. California Highway Patrol reinforcements are airlifted to this city. At this time, the US president obviously, he knows this information. He knows what's going on in LA. He speaks out against rioting. He says anarchy would not be tolerated in this country. This is a huge thing. You have your law enforcement who's trying to penetrate and help. You have literally Koreans trying to fight for their businesses. All hell's still running loose on the streets in LA.
No one is listening.
This is a struggle.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they only want to listen to one thing, but no one is saying it.
Right.
Yeah, no one is listening.
So that is day 2.
Wow, that is just day 2.
Day 2.
It seems like a month to me when you say all those events. I'm like,
I know, it sounds like this thing happened within a span of 1 month. No, this is a span of a day.
Because it's a lot that is happening. I'm like, all these things are happening in a day. Now we're on day 2.
By day 3, May 1st, in the early morning hours of Friday, May 1st, most of the rioting has kind of slowed down or stopped. Rodney gives a kind of like an impromptu news conference in front of his lawyer's office. And he's crying, right? Because he knows that was a terrible situation. But at the same time, he wasn't expecting all of this to happen. So he's basically something that he says that stuck with everyone is, people, I just want to say, can we all just get along? Unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, meanwhile, the 40th Infantry Division doubles to 4,000 troops, and the California Army National Guard continues to move into the city in Humvees, and eventually 10,000 Army National Guard troops are activated in the city of LA. The same day, 1,000 federal tactical officers from different agencies across California are dispatched to LA. So you see now, that's why I said fortunately, now more aid is coming in to really penetrate and try to help slow this stuff down. So this kind of explains why a lot of the rioting was able to be halted a little bit, right? And obviously the president has some things to say about this. And the president is basically denouncing random terror and lawlessness. He's obviously disappointed with these acts that have gone on within LA. So the mayor and governor are basically trying to outline at this point, how can we restore this place to order? How can we bring everything back to how it was and stop all of this rioting and brutality that's just running through the whole city? Because, it's reached a point that even the post office can't deliver your mail. You have people lining up outside of the post office, and police officers obviously have to guard them, but you have people having to go to the post office physically and line up to get their mail. And the lines even extend about 40 blocks long. That's how bad this is. And on this third day, most of the entertainment and sports in town are postponed or just or outright canceled, I should say. The Los Angeles Lakers were supposed to host Portland Trailblazers in the NBA playoff basketball game on the night the rioting started. And typically they'll basically play back to back. We play at your home and then you play at our home, and then they will come back to play us where we are. But of course that had to be postponed. The Los Angeles Clippers, they moved their playoff game against the Utah Jazz to a nearby stadium in Anaheim, or a nearby arena in Anaheim. The Los Angeles Dodgers postponed their games for 4 straight days, including the whole 3-game series against the Montreal Expos. Even up towards San Francisco. They set a curfew because they're like kind of afraid of unrest going on up there. So San Francisco Giants have to postpone their home game against the Philadelphia Phillies. Horse racing venues like Hollywood Park Racetrack and Los Alamitos Racecourse are shut down during this time. Like, I'm going through all of this to show you that it's like nothing could get over this.
Yeah,
like this was so big that a lot of money making sport events, entertainment is shutting down. Like, we can't even do this right now. That lets you know how widespread and how much of an impact this riot was. I mean, concerts are canceled for Van Halen, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. Tons of things are just canceled. This is all on the third day.
Nothing can function the same way it seems.
Right, nothing. But thankfully, as I already read, now a lot more aid has been dispatched there, right? So let's go into the fourth day, Saturday, May 2nd. On the fourth day, 3,500 federal troops, 2,000 soldiers of the 7th Infantry Division from Fort Ord and 1,500 Marines of the 1st Marine Division from Camp Pendleton arrived to reinforce the National Guard soldiers already in the city. So it's like there's still just a little bit more law enforcement or military enforcement coming in to reinforce this, to make sure we really get rid of that fire. We really want this to die. This is like the first significant military occupation of Los Angeles since 1894. It's crazy.
100 years later.
Right. And it's the first
almost
federal almost. And it's also the first federal military intervention in an American city to basically stop a civil disorder since the 1968 Martin Luther King assassination riots.
So this was big.
This is big. Federal troops join National Guard soldiers to support local police in restoring order, right? They're like, yes, we are going to extinguish this fire. By 11 a.m., most of the violence is under control. Actually, about 30,000 people attend a peace rally in Koreatown to support local merchants and racial healing. So it's like, we know this area has gone through a lot, right? This whole thing was basically destroyed.
They were protecting the rich at that time when things were going bad there, so.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. But it's nice to hear that the community has come together to say, okay, we need to stop.
Yeah.
Like, stop harming businesses, stop harming other people, stop. So it's nice to hear that 30,000 people.
And even Rodney himself said, please.
Yes. Can we all just get along?
Let's just get along. And was he arrested? Because he needed his parole.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Because right now, we're focused on all of this, right? Like, so imagine you have all of this going on. You kind of don't have time to think about some guy who was intoxicated and who was beaten, unfortunately, right?
It also seems like as much as he was the source, people have actually forgotten what made them start this, and they're just.
You think they kind of lost?
Like they're just ninning their rage.
You think they're just taking out their rage at this point?
It started as that, but then again, when you start to.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because there was already a lot of deep racial tension going on in this area, right? So seeing this is like, oh no.
You're reminding
me
of
now you're like, I don't even know this black man.
It's like rubbing salt.
I don't even know this black man, but come on.
This is me.
Like, we live this every day, and this, like, to this extent, come on, man. No.
Because this is like, people now are just ninning their rage.
Right.
They are like beating up people. They're like,
Right.
This is more than whatever happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go to day 5. Sunday, May 3rd. The mayor assures the public that the crisis is basically more or less under control now. The areas have become quiet. Only 2 incidences go down, and they're not major incidences, but one of which involves like a domestic dispute of basically a husband holding his family hostage, and that's kind of diffused a bit. Unfortunately, the police or the police officers like cover me as I go closer to the home. The military is thinking, oh, you mean shoot the entire home while you get closer, right? Because they have 2 different kind of ways of handling things. The police. The police is like thinking, no, I mean just, keep your weapons drawn as I get closer. They're thinking we need to shoot as you get closer. Thankfully, no one died. No one was injured in that. They literally shot the home.
Oh my goodness.
About 200 rounds are sprayed into this house.
Ooh.
Thankfully, no one was injured.
Yeah.
Thankfully. But then there was another incident later that night where an Army National Guard soldier kills a motorist because this motorist was trying to run them over at a barrier. So they had to shoot and kill this motorist. But after that, it seemed that after these 2 incidences, for the most part, everything was pretty much kind of diffused. Everything was much more calm after this. So the mayor lifts the curfew and basically signals that the riot is officially over. Unfortunately, some sporadic violence and crime kind of continued a few days afterward, but again, it's not like it's nothing like compared to the riots. Yeah, nothing like that. So now schools, banks, and businesses are able to reopen, right? Federal troops are able to stand down now, but they still keep some federal troops, right? The Army National Guard remains.
Because as much as things are normal, they're not. It's still fresh.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, you just don't know, right? Because initially they downplayed it, right? Initially they thought they had enough, right? So the Army National Guard remains in the area until May 14th, and some of the National Guard soldiers even remain as late as May 27th, right? So they're really trying to complete the month out to make sure this is completely diffused. Yeah. So now the riots are done, right? The LAPD chief of police, Daryl Gates, who has basically seen his successor, William L. Williams, named by the police commission days before the riots, is forced to resign on June 28th, 1992.
Okay.
Some areas of the city saw some temporary truces between rival gangs like the Crips and the Bloods, even some rival Latino gangs. They saw some truces, and actually the LAPD was concerned. They were thinking,
if these people are
trucing, are they trying to come after us? Because I mean, we kind of caused all this, are they trying to do that? So they were a bit worried about that. And there was political pressure that was kind of surrounding a retrial. They're like, all right, the rioting, yes, we went through all that, but there's still some pressure on doing this all over again. Fix this situation completely, right? Federal charges of civil rights violations are basically brought against the officers. It's like the first anniversary of the acquittal. The city tensely awaits the federal jury's decision. The decision is read in a court session on Saturday, April 17th.
Do we know the jurors now? The jurors,
Well, we don't, but let's just see what they decide first, right? So, April 17th, 1993 at 7 a.m., Officer Lawrence Powell and Sergeant Stacy Kuhn were found guilty, while Officers Theodore Brucinino and Timothy Wind are acquitted. So the first trial, media outlets basically took this news and ran with it, and it was plastered all over the place. Hey, if you get I'm trying to get your attention with this. This time they're like, let's be gentle
Gentle.
about releasing this. We saw what happened the first time. We do not want this.
Yeah.
That was bad, right? So they like gently release that information. Police are mobilized throughout the areas. They are placed on 12-hour shifts. They're like on convoy patrols. Helicopters are throughout. Street barricades are set up. They're ready in case if something else pops off. So all 4 of the officers left or basically were fired from the LAPD.
The 4.
Officer Brissanino left or leaves the LAPD after being acquitted on both the state and federal charges. Officer Wind, who is also acquitted for the state and federal charges, is fired. And there's an officer that we didn't really hear about, but I think this is important to know as we're kind of moving throughout, like after this all occurred, just because of how impactful it is. So there was a police officer named Susan Klimmer. And like during the first trial, she gave a crucial testimony for the defense of the officers. She claimed that she was riding in the ambulance with Rodney basically to the hospital. And he was basically laughing and he spat blood on her uniform. 2009, she goes into the LA Sheriff's Station. She commits suicide. 2009, she commits suicide in the LA Sheriff's Station.
Why?
I think all of this has kind of stuck with her. You know, it's
years later though. It's so many years.
Yeah, but I don't know if she was able to even come back from all of this, because she was like she gave a crucial testimony for the officer's defense. She was in the back of the ambulance with Rodney.
So how is that affecting her?
I don't know. I feel like it was such a maybe after when this was decided, she was like people were bothering her. Maybe she could never mentally, emotionally let this stuff go. She saw all hell break loose because she was serving still as a police officer. And if you're still serving in this area and you were siding with the so-called police, well, you're gonna be tormented. Right? People are going to make sure they raise crap on you.
And if she was if she gave a testimony, definitely people knew her face, how she looked.
They knew, exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. I think there was like a whole lot more behind, well, I was just in the back of no, I think she had to deal with a lot of stuff after this. Probably suffered depression and all of that stuff, right? But it's interesting that she commits suicide at the station. Right? Ultimately, Rodney is awarded $3.8 million in damages from the city of Los Angeles. Fortunately, he invests most of this money into founding a hip-hop record label called
Rodney Shreddy.
called
Hey, I thought she was going to give his kids, make sure his kids are going to school, like his kids are well taken care of.
He calls this record label Straight Alta Paz Records. The venture is ultimately unable to garner success and soon folds.
He was a joker. That was a joker.
And subsequently, as years go on further, Rodney is arrested like at least 11 times on a variety of charges, including domestic abuse, hit and run. He also continues to struggle with drug and alcohol abuse. But throughout all of this, his family and him decide to leave LA and move to San Bernardino County to kind of escape the limelight and kind of start a new life. But Rodney and his family eventually return, and they start a family-owned construction company. And like throughout all this time,
should have just invested in a construction company
at the gate, right? Out of the gate, you should just start construction.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that they took a while to like talk him in.
Yeah.
You still have $500,000. Invest in what you have done in the past.
I know. it just made me upset after all that, whatever people did for him to.
Don't be upset. But throughout all of this, Rodney doesn't want to basically engage in any kind of conversations about the night of the beating and all of the aftermath.
Do you think he was made to sign a document that stated that
because he won.
We are going to give you this amount, but never talk about it.
He sued the city and won that money. Initially, the mayor was trying to say, "Hey, I will pay you $200,000 and pay for your college education for you," and he said no.
Yeah, I know.
So he decided to sue them, and he's awarded $3.8 million.
Yeah, but he was traumatized. I think that's trauma.
Absolutely, it's traumatizing.
That's trauma.
100%. So, by June 17, 2012. Rodney King is found unresponsive at the bottom of his pool. Rodney is declared dead at the hospital at the age of 47, and the autopsy results are released, and it basically states that he has died of accidental drowning because of a combination of alcohol, cocaine, and PCP found in his body.
It's like this person was given a second opportunity to be better. But also the second opportunity, he couldn't do much. Because at times people say, "Oh, if I have money, or if I had money."
If I had money.
Yes, I could do this and this and this. I could make I could just do a 360, you get. But this person was given a second chance.
And also, by the way, the city eventually just dropped the charges of the whole...
Because he was going to violate, violating his parole.
Yeah, they're like, all right, let's just drop these charges.
You're not going to go
they just dropped those charges. So once when he sued them, he was pretty much free man, and he had money.
But also with that opportunity, you're like, I'm blowing this up. Yeah. I'll still be the same. I think he had the mentality, I'll still be the same person I was. I'm not changing in any way.
Well, I don't think it was in a stubborn way. I think he had his demons. I think this kind of explains kind of where he was at in his earlier life. He was, married, divorced, had children, and dropped out of high school, working, had odd jobs, had a hard time keeping jobs. I think his whole time he's been trying to fight himself. Right? He had a hard time facing his own demons this whole time.
So he found himself.
And so he never... Yeah, he was never able to recover. Actually, side of this, he was on a celebrity TV show. It was about recovery. It was like a celebrity rehab show. And the doctor told him, "Rodney, you will die if you don't get over your problems." And that's what ultimately ended up happening. But that is the story of Rodney King.
If I was him, use that opportunity to change.
Some people can't overcome their demons. Regardless, you have to understand that if you put them in the richest seat or the poorest seat, some people have a hard time to overcome certain demons. Regardless, you give them all of the money or you take all their money away, they will have a hard time dealing with those demons they have. And you can't forget, when people say this, it's true. Money doesn't get rid of your problems. It only kind of grows your obsessions in some way. Have you ever heard that? Whatever you ever really wanted, it can now come true with money.
Because I'm sure he was not able to buy cocaine maybe, but now he can buy cocaine.
Right.
Because it's expensive, but now he can afford.
Cocaine's a very expensive drug.
Yeah, at that time it was only alcohol and weed.
Right.
But now it has advanced, you see? A mixture of alcohol and cocaine. His taste became expensive.
And it's accessible. Right? Because now I'm rich, so I don't have to think, I'm not going to have the money if I spend it on this. I want the money for food or something. No, he's rich now. Right? So...
What about his friends? Did they
I think that's worth further investigation. Because
even them, they were beaten. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, it didn't get as bad.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But that's the story of Rodney King and the LA riots, something that is highly controversial still to this day, but it's a very historical moment in the United States history, obviously California history, specifically LA. So wanted to read that story to you.
I think
And
it was a good one. It was a good one. I wish Rodney did better after that, but only for him to just live for 20 more years. He was in his 20s when this happened. Just to live 20 more, like, it's like
yeah, he died at 47.
Yeah, you had a very, very big opportunity to do better, but you didn't use it, so that was a disappointment.
But I think we should look at it greater than just Rodney King's personal.
Yeah.
Like,
it's about the oppression also, and the rage and what people, like, if you
it's
put
about what the
people
whole thing
in a
means.
cage, once it erupts, like, once it's just like this.
Yes.
Something can just make people tick and you'll see madness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And I think at that point that the people, the mayor, everyone noticed what they did wrong and what they had been doing. And they had to, like, have a different point of, like, different view about it, talk about things in a smoother way, like the way you said. The news outlets, the first time, they just let out the news, like,
right.
Yeah. But the second time, they were gentle about it. Because everyone remembered what happened, and you don't need to do certain things. You have to be gentle. The way you treat this person, treat the other person the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, like, it's about fairness, it's about, and to remember everyone should be good and nice to each other. That's just it. So it was a good one, and I guess until next time, we'll see you. Bye.